What's happening, Muscle and Mind? Welcome to episode 1 of The Muscle. Today we're talking about my good friend. You know him well, you've seen him before. His name's Half Squat Harry. Now, Half Squat Harry, he has some issues, and most of them are emotional, psychological, because he goes through a lot of bullying. He's scrutinized for what he's doing, and everyone knows that he's wrong about it, but that might not be the case always. What he's doing might actually be beneficial sometimes, but from day one, you go into the gym, you see the form police out, right? And what they're doing is they're teaching you good form, and good form is extremely important in most cases. I think a full range of motion is one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make. They're trying to lift with their ego, they're pushing, especially on a bench press, you come down halfway. If that's your whole workout, you're not training the entire movement through the stretch and the contraction. So definitely form's a big deal. But what Half Squat Harry's doing is a big deal. I mean, it is something that could be beneficial to you, especially if you're in a plateau. Plateaus, or let's just call them like limits or ceilings, or things that you can't get through in your major lifts, your bench, your squat. You know, they're a bummer. They're something that you really want to push through, but you know, they're a measure of your strength, really. So if your bench is the same for 6 months, you're gonna feel pretty bad about yourself and like you haven't gained any strength. Odds are you probably have gained some strength, but it's just not translating to your bench press very well. So we're talking about partial today, partial reps, and how we could use those effectively to gain strength and also size. So it's effective in both powerlifting and bodybuilding. So you could think of a contraction of a muscle as 2 parts. From the stretch, we're talking about my bicep right now, the full stretch to baseline, so this is the middle, and then from the baseline to here is the other half, baseline to full contraction. So from stretch to baseline, from baseline to full contraction. And baseline is really just like the relaxed form of the muscle. If you split it into 2 parts like that, you could essentially work on one part of the contraction and not the other, and you could use more weight or more reps, or like a higher frequency. You could train in ways that you couldn't train if you're going full range of motion. When could this be effective? I wouldn't recommend your whole workout being partials, just because you wouldn't develop your chest evenly, right? Like, again, talking about the bench press. If all you're working is this from here to here, you're just working the lockout, you're not gonna work the full stretch. So there's half of the movement you're leaving out, your range of motion is not good. But if you notice on your bench press that your problem is getting it up, but it's easy lockout. Where do you pause on your bench? If you get on the bench and it's easy for you to throw it up to here, but once you get 75% of the way, you can't lock it out, maybe you should work partials on your lockout. Or same with when you're down here. If you have a hard time getting the bar the whole way down to your chest, but when you're going halfway it's easy, maybe you need to work on the lower half of the movement. And you could use this to your advantage. Working on that lower half of the movement, especially on bench, is gonna help bring up your entire bench press. Not just the lower half, but it's gonna make it a more fluid motion, and it's gonna benefit the entire exercise. So I did shoulders today, and some partials I like to do are, personally for me, overhead press. I like to do a partial from the bottom of the movement to about halfway, because that's where it's hard for me. I have a hard time getting it up, and I feel myself sometimes feeling the urge to want to jerk it up. I'm better at the lockout on that move. So that's something I'll do at the end of my workout to get an extra burn, extra hypertrophy on those specific muscles, and more specifically in that specific movement of that muscle. Now, one partial move that is really famous, I'm not sure who made it famous, it's the 21, so it's for bicep curls. And 21s can be used in a lot of other, this concept can be used in other lifts as well, not just in curls, but this is basically what it is. It's 7 reps from the stretch to baseline. So you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After 7, you do 7 in the top half. After you get 7 there, you do 7 full range of motion reps. And you're obviously using a little bit lighter weight to do that. That is a fantastic burnout move. If you're talking about finishing moves, that's where partials come into play as well. There's one that I see going around, and it's, you put a plate between your hands and you clamp it, and you're just doing this. What do you think that is? That's a partial. Because the full range of motion of your shoulder is to come the whole way back. But you're not. You're stopping right here with that plate, and the squeeze of pushing in the middle forces contraction in your chest. So I really like that, especially for lockout. You're laying down, and you're pushing a plate like this, maybe like a 25 or 35 pound plate. That's something you see a lot. So I urge you, especially if you're in a plateau, I know I hit them all the time, and it's, again, when it's on your big lifts, your measure of strength lifts, your squat and your bench, you really don't want that to happen. That's something you're trying to fight, and it makes you feel good when you could maybe throw a little more weight on the bar and do a half rep towards the end of your workout. Just something to think about. Hope it helps someone. Muscle and mind.